watching that game, by the way, it's a regular season game. Cardinals lose the series. No good. Oh, by the way, and we'll get to this, calling up Nolan Gorman, calling up Matthew Liberatore. So some big news there. And you know how, Kat, you sometimes say that I root for spiciness. Now, clearly, I'll admit it. Am I a homer? No. But if we live in St. Louis, I don't care if you're in the media. Do you want your local teams to win? Yes. It's better for business. It's better for the city. It's better for morale. It's better for everything. However, even though we've been ripping Pete Alonso, when I saw him hit that ball off the planet of Saturn, I believe, that's where it landed, I kind of had to feel a little good for him. Am I terrible?
No, yeah, you are.
Okay, but look,
Good.
He got ripped on. He got pulled down from behind by a coach. I know it's the Cardinals coach. I know it's Stubby. He got made fun of. We called him big, strong guy. We're still going to probably for the rest of his life. He said he can put people in the hospital. He got thrown at again near his head, even though it was a changeup. So this man's been knocked down. All I thought about watching him trot, watching him bang his chest there, he did the basketball hoop throw. I just thought to myself, he kind of won. He did.
Yeah, that's
He
what
was.
I'm not saying.
No, I know. I'm just watching. I'm thinking.
Sorry for him.
Well, no, I'm thinking.
Get on with yourself.
No, I was putting
That's
myself.
Toledo values,
Hold on.
Cam.
Jeez
Listen,
Louise.
I was putting myself in his shoes because I was terrible at sports and could never hit a ball.
Oh,
I'm just thinking, how great would it feel if I got knocked down in a game, the bench is cleared, I got pulled from behind by a 50-year-old Canadian first base coach, I looked silly, everybody in baseball has made fun of me for 2-3 weeks, we're playing the big, strong guy drop constantly, we're playing the drop, I can put somebody in the hospital. He's being made fun of nonstop, and then I hate to say it, but he absolutely got the ultimate polar bear revenge by hitting a ball off the moon to win the gut. I'm lazy, and also I'm scared.
I feel sorry
and I
for
don't trust
kids
myself.
with disabilities. I feel sorry for doggies chained up in 110-degree weather. That's the kind of stuff I feel sorry for. Not a $200 million guy that thinks he's jacked out of his mind, which he kind of is, with a goofy-ass haircut. I don't feel sorry for him.
I don't think he's paid
He got his back, but feel sorry for him. No.
Well,
Puppies
I tried
that
to
are
just
neglected,
explain it.
That's what I feel sorry for.
Of course, it's not the same. I don't think he's got the $200 million yet. I believe he's still making kind of normal, regular, early baseball money. All I'm trying to say is, of course, I want the Cardinals to win the game. When he hit that walk-off homer, for him, for the Mets, you couldn't have written the storybook ending better after everything that went on against the Cardinals in the last two series.
Okay, so when I saw the pitch on the way, I wasn't thinking, oh, this could be spicy for my friend Pete Alonso. I thought to myself.
Is that how I talk?
Yeah. Before the pitch even came, I was like, please don't throw inside. Please don't throw anything inside. Please don't throw anything inside. And I could see out of the hand, I was like, oh, no. And then Danny Mac was like, Mets win. Bye-bye. It was just deflating. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Mets, who are a good team. They go on to Pittsburgh. Hopefully Pittsburgh is more like that convenience store we're used to, where you pop in, you win 2 out of 3, and you get a frozen burrito, pop it in the microwave, and head out of town. But, that was disheartening the way it ended. Don't you think that pitch to Alonso was exactly what you were, in terms of location? Now you're smiling.
Well, what do you want me to do? It's entertainment. It's 1 of 162. I try to give you a 5-minute preface. Of course, we always root for the Cardinals.
Why are you so smiling? I just want you to.
Because it was awesome. I'm sorry. It was awesome.
Right.
I don't like to agree with Jim.
No, I don't care. I root for fun. And I'm sorry. First of all, the Mets series here was awesome. I was at that game where the bench is cleared. I left before that because my daughter was driving me insane. Love you, Janie Mae, if you're listening, but I could only last 6 innings. Bench is clear. There's bean balls for the whole series. It is spicy. It's old school 80s. It's Pond Scum versus Cardinals. I can't wait. I hope they play in the postseason. So to watch another really competitive series again that ends like that, that had to be the greatest feeling in the world for Pete Alonso. That's what I'm thinking.
No, but you don't have to. See, I think you're missing the boat. I'm not. You're welcome to that opinion. You don't have to apologize to me, but I think you deserve, or Cardinal Nation deserves an apology for you rooting for Pete Alonso.
I'm not rooting for
Toledo.
He said he felt sorry for him, Jimmy. Like, that's a different animal.
Cam, put yourself in Pete Alonso's shoes.
I have been in ways way worse than that without the money. So no, I don't care. I don't feel sorry for him. He stood up and said, "You're going to do this to me. I'm going to put one out of the park." He had his moment. It's all good. But to feel sorry for him, I mean, I had to push. But
I talked for 10 minutes. You're taking one word out of it.
Yeah, damn right. Exactly.
When I said I felt sorry for him,
I'm a politician.
He was ripped on. He was made fun of. He's this big, strong guy. Everybody's destroying him.
He told us that.
And by the way, it's partly his fault because his comments were silly. However, I'd also be pissed if a coach took me down from behind and I'm being made fun of like I'm not a man and a fighter when a dude takes me down. Oh, stop.
Have your head on a swivel, Dan.
That's what Cam.
Have your head on a
Cam
swivel,
has been there.
Oh, you're telling me?
Jeez
Okay.
Louise.
So you're telling me you run into the scrum and start doing 360s?
Oh, I know.
No, just come into the scrum and look around and then grab a guy and throw him
you could
down.
not have prevented that. You could not have prevented that.
How
no,
dare
you
you question Cam Janssen about what he did for a living on a professional level?
Did you watch that? Stubby bear
I would have put him in an arm bar.
Stubby bear hugged him, and then Genesis Cabrera horse collared him. Again, I'm not rooting for the Mets, but come on. That was not like, oh, Pete Alonso got beat up.
Nah.
It was a 50-year-old man and a left-handed reliever pulling him down.
Fine.
I've never been more disappointed in you.
It would have been fine if he just went like, yeah, he got me. Next time I'm going to get him. But he's like, no, he got you. Dude.
I hate the Cardinals and the Blues. And I love the Rams.
I've never been more disappointed in you, Charlie. Rooting against Stubby Clapp, actively hoping that Pete Alonso hurts him, and then celebrating a Cardinal loss. Go back to Toledo.
Hey, 563 Charlie roots for fun. This is the least fun series of the year, Chuck.
No, it isn't.
I agree.
Guess
I agree
why?
with you on that one, Charlie.
Guess what's going to be the worst series of the year? It would have been the Pirates because it's the Pirates, except for now it's exciting because we get to watch the MLB debut of Nolan Gorman and Matthew Liberatore. I'm sorry. Yeah. I root for fun, competitive series, even if the Cardinals lose those series. It's fun to watch them win series against the Giants. And they were very close to tying a very competitive series against the Mets yesterday. They probably should have won that game.
Mets are bad
But am I supposed to pretend that a loss to the Mets on a walk-off from the Polar Bear isn't fun when I'm about to watch the crappy Pirates who don't even try to win for the last 20 years? I'm sorry. That's not fun.
That's not enjoyment for this rights holder, son. Let's move on from that because I think you've established yourself as a Toledo-based communist. Yeah. But so we've been waiting for this for a long time, and I'm curious about this, if I may, Cam. So we can't move Tommy Edman to short yet because it's a process. He's been, even though he's played shortstop throughout his entire life, including about 15 starts at the major league level, okay? So they give him some ground balls before games, right? And now he's ready to play shortstop because they announced that Gorman will come up and play second base, and he will start today when the Cardinals open the series in Pittsburgh. So, Charlie, this is what I love about you because you'll have a spicy answer to this. So how did that process go? Something that the Cardinals knew was probably going to happen at some point. I want to know your take on, like, what inning was it where Mo was like, get Gorman. Here, like, they've been saying we can't do it yet. We can't do this move yet. And all of a sudden, it couldn't have been after, like as soon as Alonso makes contact, okay, Gorman. It couldn't have been that because it happened so quickly. So how did that unfold?
So, by the way, I think what happened was the second the ball left Gio's hand, I think John Mozeliak saw that it was going to be middle, probably was going to be hit at least 700 feet. So and he immediately hit send on call up Gorman Liberatore. Being serious. Because I was thinking about this as I'm watching the fantastic Bally Sports Midwest postgame show. They had the breaking news, and of course the Cardinals had the press release ready. And I'm thinking, and I get this, if you're bringing up two studs, you're number, 2 and 3 prospects in baseball, do you want to bring them up? You probably want to bring them up at home, and then all of a sudden you got some injuries, this and that. Their lineup right now is this weird mishmash of Brendan Donovan and Corey Dickerson and injured guys and a Paul DeYoung in the minors. I love Juan Yepes, by the way. We need to get to that. That man is fun. He is fun to watch. I love that dude. But if you're the Cardinals and you want to ease your stud prospects into the best situation, do you bring them up in New York City for a very competitive series against a team that is very good, and also you have all this history from the last series where you know there's going to be some beanballs and some craziness? Or do you bring them up in Pittsburgh where there will be probably 36 total fans, half of which will be Nolan Gorman and Matthew Liberatore's family, their childhood friends. I'm very happy for them. But on the road at Pittsburgh, if you're looking at the schedule, seems like the perfect time to bring up Nolan Gorman and Matthew Liberatore and not have a ton of pressure and just go out there. Liberatore, first start. It's against the Pirates. You're not facing Max Scherzer in New York City. I think that makes perfect sense.
And I think, well, first of all, they had a TBA for this start, so they needed a starter, so Liberatore makes sense. Bringing them up together, if there is pressure, then go through it together. You think that would help. I'm not so sure it's about Pittsburgh, where they don't generate huge crowds. I also think we can't afford not to take at least 2 of 3 on these gimme games, right, against teams. We got to do something now.
Right, but also they think about the best way to bring these prospects up. It's usually at home. And look, you had a rainout the other day, so you had a doubleheader. You had a spot for a pitcher. It makes perfect sense. And I think Matthew Liberatore has also earned this shot. He's been pretty dang solid in Memphis this year. His ERA is about 3.8. He's a very good pitcher. We all know about Randy Arozarena, and I think he has a high upside. I'm not saying he's going to be a number 1 starter, but could he be a very reliable number 2, 3, 4 type starter for the Cardinals? I'm very excited to see him. And then also with Nolan Gorman, look, I'm sure they don't love the fact that they have to move around their entire infield. But right now you're searching for offense. Tyler O'Neill hits the injured list. So you got guys like Corey Dickerson playing left field but actually not throwing the ball to home when there's plays at the plate. Juan Yepez, love him. You got Brendan Donovan playing all over the field. At this point,
and
why
being
the hell
great
not?
At the plate too, right?
Right,
Getting
but
a lot
why
of
not?
walks.
And look, if Nolan Gorman struggles, that's okay. That's okay. If he comes up and struggles and goes back down, there's a very good chance that will happen. But the man has how many bombs down there? I know he strikes out a lot.
Well, it's 15 last I looked.
But he's slugging over 600. Yeah. He's hitting over 300. His on base is actually 360, 370. Really, so give him a shot. That doesn't mean he's going to come up and hit 20 bombs. Give him a shot. See what you got. And if he's bad for 2 weeks and Tyler O'Neill comes back and the roster changes where you have to make another move, it's okay to send him back down. That happens with a lot of players.
And if there's any litmus test, I like to call it a litmus test.
It's like a data set.
It's like an inside baseball term. Yepez came up and hit from day one, right? So if he can do that, maybe Gorman can do the same thing. And that transitions us to Yepez, who's been really fun to watch, right?
I love watching that man hit. And the other day, now he hit the bomb. How about the fact that coming up, because I'm not going to pretend like I watched every game of the minors or any of them for Juan Yepez, but we heard about the fact that he's basically a DH. Doesn't really have a position, can play some corner infield, can play the outfield. That's not obviously ideal, but he was kind of billed as a DH. He hit a pretty routine ball into the hole to Francisco Lindor. I know Lindor took too much time on the backhand, but he beat out what should have been just a 6-3 putout. That impressed me, his hustle, but also getting up the line like that as much as the home run. How about the at-bat against Scherzer the other day? I thought Scherzer was going to chirp him a little bit, Chris Carpenter style, because Scherzer threw a hittable pitch, which Juan Yepez, you remember, he plunked it into right, but he didn't get the hit because I believe it was Arenado that was doubled off, was forced out at second. But he made a sound, or he swore after he missed the ball, kind of saying like, man, I missed that pitch. He's doing that to Max Scherzer as a rookie. That's where Chris Carpenter would have been like, rookie, really? You think you can hit me?
We saw that, right?
You think you missed that pitch? Juan Yepez, you rookie? He did that to Max Scherzer. I liked that.
I also like that, first of all, they try to jam him when he moves his hands in. It seems like he has really good plate coverage. He has some power, but we also have seen him go the other way. And here's the thing, like, you could come up as a bona fide top prospect and be nervous and not do well, and like you said, get sent down. He seems fearless to me, right? There was absolutely no being overwhelmed by the biggest stage in baseball. I'm a fan.
That's a good point, yeah.
And
old
he's
fearless, man. You can see that in people's eyes. You can.
I like the way he's very active in the box. He's kind of fidgety, jumpy, and I like it. He looks like a ball player. And I know this shouldn't matter, but we do talk about the boringness of baseball and it's too slow. And when I watch him, I just see energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think his enthusiasm it can be contagious too when you're going through a rough stretch like the Cardinals are now. You know, he's all energy. That's a good point.
I tell you what, that Gorman's going to go to Pittsburgh, and he's going to get up there and he's going to be like, wow, this is really it. wow, I really made it. He's going to look around. He's like, wow, this is the coolest thing. And then he's going to go to Busch Stadium where there's 40,000 screamers, and he's going to hit a bomb, and the women folk are going to go crazy, and he's going to be like, this is heaven. He's not even going to realize what he's really got if he sticks on this team and goes out there and does his thing, man. I mean, he's going to go into Pittsburgh and then go to Busch and see how it really is. Wow, what a good feeling that's going to be for him, man. Good for you, buddy. Good for you.
And I think it's good for Cardinal fans. They've been wanting this for a long time, and there were kind of no more answers, unless they went in that direction. So Cardinals made the move.
And, oh, by the way, we shouldn't look at either of these guys as saviors, but if they can be really good and contribute like Juan Yepez, there's an absolute need for both of these guys. Look, Jordan Hicks, maybe he continues to start, but if Liberatore goes out there and pitches well, are they not going to give him another opportunity, whether it's as a starter or a piggyback off Hicks? Could you see a situation where he replaces Hicks in the rotation and Hicks piggybacks off him? And you probably have another month or so, you would think, until Flaherty's back. So Matthew Liberatore has a great opportunity to really contribute at the big league level and stick up here for the rest of the season. Nolan Gorman, he is a lefty power hitter. The Cardinals are not good at all facing righties. They aren't. Their lineup is not constructed to face righties. And so if Nolan Gorman can really crush righties, he also will never leave. But look, I shouldn't tell people like, oh, expect him to be the savior. I mean, Paul DeJong just got sent down in year 4 or 5 in Major League Baseball.
Coming up on 5 years.
So Nolan Gorman,
He's got 2 hits.
He could come up here and strike out 50% of the time. That could happen.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't, but it could happen.
Or you could have a guy that comes up like Yepez and is now suddenly a middle-of-the-order guy who's been one of their best approaches at the plate in the last couple of weeks since he's been up.
Yeah, use that savior word. You think they're going to go in the locker room, and one of the older guys in the locker room, when they walk in or for the first little lunch, they're going to be, oh, here's our savior. Do you think that's going to happen in the Cardinal locker room like it did to me?
No, I think right now the Cardinals know there's some holes in that lineup and they're scuffling and they want to get it on track. I think they're going to welcome anyone who they think can help them. And
they're not asshats like Richard Matvichuk was. Remember I told you that story where I walked in with my parents and he's like, and it made me feel down. They don't do that with the Cardinals organization by any stretch of the imagination.
Whoever would do that is an idiot, though. I mean, I get it if it's joking around, too, but if it makes the new guy feel bad and puts him in a bad way, what's the point of doing it?
The young kid? Yeah, anyway. Sir Nathaniel, what's your take on everything? Do you agree with Jimmy? Do you agree with Charlie? Do you agree with the organization? Let's say you. I want to hear from you, Sir Nathaniel.
Well, just sort of funny that, yesterday I was taking a whole lot of heat for saying this team needed to make some changes. And, no, we're going to play the long game. We're not ready for this. And then what did Mo do? Pulled the trigger and said, I'm done watching crap baseball. We're going to make a couple of changes and hopefully infuse some energy into this club. And he's bringing up 2 of the top prospects in baseball. So it was much needed. Anyone who's watching the Cardinals right now understands that they're flat. They don't have enough. They don't have enough. They're not getting enough. Jordan Hicks isn't giving them a chance to win. And so you hope that Matthew Liberatore changes that up.
And what we talked about yesterday with Jordan Hicks working slow, Dakota Hudson was doing that the same or worse. And it wasn't just because Jim Edmonds and Danny Mac were talking about it, but Jim Edmonds was talking about it from the perspective of a defensive player, how boring it is to sit out there and not move and not be on your toes. And there was a ball hit to center field that Harrison Bader just missed. And I'm not saying this is the exact reason, but Jim Edmonds said, look, that's part of playing slow baseball. When you're a defender and you're on your heels and you're waiting 30 seconds, whatever it is, between every pitch, it's hard not to get on your heels and not be as into the baseball game. And the last 2 games, that has really stood out because you had a glacial pace to 2 winnable games thrown by Jordan Hicks and Dakota Hudson, where the first half of those games were tough to watch. Really slow.
Yeah, he said that in the broadcast?
Yes.
Yeah, man, that makes sense. You're like, okay, come on.
Yeah, I don't think Danny never talks about, maybe he did in this case, but Jimmy's more of and Al Robosky, those guys are big advocates of moving it along, especially Jimmy from, like you said, a defensive perspective.
Well, I think we all appreciate the fact that baseball doesn't have a clock. I mean, and I think one of Danny's jobs is to promote the game of baseball, and there's plenty of people who work in baseball who tear the game down on a constant basis. For whatever reason, I think it's odd. But at the same time, I mean, you can sit there and tell me that the sky isn't blue, but I'm going to keep telling you that the sky is blue. And when you've got a baseball game that has no pace and it's boring as hell, I don't really care what's being said on a telecast or a radio broadcast. The people know it. And so you can't continue to, hide the fact that baseball's got an ongoing issue. I mean, Bob Costas talked about it at length yesterday on High Heat with Chris Russo, and I found the comments to be extremely telling. A guy who's doing network games for the network is acknowledging that big changes are coming, and I think that is something that Major League Baseball understands and will ultimately be good for their game.
Well, the sky was not blue yesterday, brother. I'll tell you that, so I don't know.
And do you agree with Charlie that Pete Alonso is great and that the Cardinals are terrible?
I'll tell you this much. If Pete Alonso, I was looking up his contract, he's making $7.5 this year. So
poor guy.
But I don't know. I think Pete Alonso is a damn good ball player and has given baseball fans two of the most entertaining home run derbies for a competition that is largely kind of blah. He spiced that up pretty good.
Oh, like I said, I've been making sure I don't say anything personal because from all the people I know that know something about him say he's a good dude, and he's a good player. I just, based on the fact that we were playing that drop over and over again, I didn't want to have it shoved in my face, and I did with a pitch out over the plate.
No gimme games, Cat. This team sucks and led by Goldilocks. Well, that was very negative.
He was 3 for 5. He was 3 for 5 yesterday,
negative.
stealing bases.
He was happy.
They manufactured a run with that guy. I mean,
yes.
An infield hit, you're not going to throw him out, right? He nubs a ball, you're not going to get him. He's going to steal second. Leads the National League in stolen bases, maybe baseball.
Big picture, though, the Cardinals aren't very good. And by saying that, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're very bad. They're just, and even calling them mediocre, I guess that's fair. To me, they are a slightly above average baseball team. And it's early. I'm not saying they can't get better. I think the offense will improve. But they are a team that beats up on usually the Pirates of the world. And they cited this yesterday. Whatever their record is against winning teams, I believe it's 8-10, something along those lines if I misquoted that. But at some point, you are what your record is. And if you're 20-18 and you're right around 500 or below 500 against the good teams in baseball, how good of a team are you? I will give them this, though. Thank you, John Mozeliak, even if you had to do it because of injuries and Jordan Hicks and Tyler O'Neill. But thank you for making these moves early because last year, the Cardinals lost the division by waiting too long. When they had their injuries to Miles Michaelis, Jack Flaherty there late May, they didn't go out and get a Wade LeBlanc. They took too long, trade deadline to get John Lester, J. Happ. They allowed the Brewers to get so far ahead of them as the Brewers went crazy in June, the Cardinals could never catch up. So you're seeing things that you don't like. Thank you for making a move at the quarter point of the season and trying something new before it's too late.
I agree with that. And the other thing, too, that's striking about the Cardinals just being 2 games over 500, and they have some areas that are a little rough around the edges, but no one's hotter than Goldschmidt right now. I mean, he's hitting everything. Arenado has been hot all year. Tommy Edman has cooled off a little bit. He's been really good in the leadoff spot. Like, you have the makings of a team that probably should be more than 2 games over 500, but it's fair to say you are what your record says you are.
I think, too, if you go back to the end of last year and some of the comments that John Mozeliak made about how he thought there were too many underperformances on the team, and you look at this through 38 games and you're 20-18, like, I'm guessing that's not sitting overly well. Like, I know Mo takes a lot of heat, but he watches just like everybody else, and he acknowledges that, like, this is not a good enough brand right now.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think he would be very forthcoming, as he typically is, when he acknowledges where they're at through 38 games.
And then you look at, like, I do think Carlson is coming around because he's raised his average. I know he had a rough one yesterday, but he's hitting everything, right? And so I think he's coming around. Bader seems to be coming around. We'll see what the shoulder issue is with Tyler O'Neill, because to me, that's the key. They got to get that guy going. There's no question about that. They put DeYoung down in the minors to try to see if he could find it again. But they are trying to address some of these things because, look, they want to win too, and they realize 2 games over 500 and not going to cut it.
They ain't cutting it. It ain't going to cut it. They ain't going to cut it. But, yeah, excited to see these young kids coming up here, man. What a cool feeling, man. I'll never forget that. I do forget a lot of things in my life, but that first game when you get called up, that first initial call when you answer your phone, it is the most euphoric high ever. You look at your phone, you're like, this could only be one thing. When the organization calls you, when you're in the minors, and you get that call from Lou or from whoever, you're like, oh, yes, here it comes. Because you know it's kind of coming. But when you're in the NHL or the MLB and you get that call, it's a completely different story with your mindset there. So I know the feeling, man. Good for them.